S.D. Boyan.
So let's just imagine what might happen to the price of gold when perhaps hundreds of thousands of individuals and investors who believe they have a high percentage of their portfolio allocated to physical metal suddenly realize they have nothing. They have no metal. A large amount of them are going to want to grab any actual physical, and we're talking about physical you can put in your hand, gold that they can find anywhere. That's what I would see.
Well, yeah, I try to make an example of Mr. X, and he's got a long-standing rich family, and they got $2.3 billion to their family name, and they've always had $300 million in gold. Well, if they realize that their gold is gone from improper usage by the cartel banks on their allocated gold for their leveraged insane games, yeah, Mr. X might say, all right, well, we've got a few hundred million others. Let's liquidate this, liquidate that, sell some property before you know it. Hey, look, here's $50 million. Let's go out and buy some gold. And let's make maybe $10 million in silver. Let's do it tomorrow. And if it pushes the price, it pushes the price because we want to get at this because we've been ripped off, we've been robbed. Okay, that's one side. The other side is they call their most powerful friends in the banking world, they call their most powerful friends in the legal world, and they might join up forces with this Eastern coalition, and they might force, I mean with big, powerful leverage, with threats or whatever, they might force the cartel banks to replace their gold. I think we're going to get to 5,000 gold, not from demand by the public. That's something that Doug Casey believes. I believe we're going to get $5,000 gold price from the cartel banks, replacing what they improperly used in their leveraged games from allocated gold accounts.
And if we see $5,000 gold without public participation, I can't even imagine where the bull market is going once the public sits on the sideline and watches gold hit 5,000 and silver hit 250 or 300 or 400.
Well, you know, that there's another argument here. Are you assuming the public has a lot of money?
In mass, probably not, but there's still, throughout the world, there's still plenty of investors that the gold and silver market is so small that if they increase their allocation from or exposure to gold and silver from less than 1% to even 4 or 5%, that's a massive amount.
Yeah, but you know, just take a look at what's being bought on retail in China. Is that not just say a couple hundred tons a year? I'm talking 40,000 metric tons. I mean, this pales, this overwhelms the public participation at the retail level globally. We're at an order of magnitude higher. So we get to the high prices from bankers replacing the gold that they improperly took from allocated accounts so that they avoid jail time. I've looked at these numbers. I report what the annual demand from China was. It's not even 1,000 metric tons. I'm talking about 40,000 metric tons. Okay, I'd like to point out, and this is not in the news, but I got wind of it back in the summer of 2010 from my excellent gold trader source, because he's got some, how shall I put it, adversaries in Switzerland. He doesn't like them. They don't like him. He points out frequently that Switzerland is not a good place to do business when it comes to gold. Because, as he pointed out in the summer of 2010, the Zurich Cantonal Bank, ZKB, is not what they purport to be. They don't have allocated gold accounts. I've got a client who I speak with once in a while, and he tried to get his gold out of the ZKB account in the summer of 2010. He was told to go shit in his hand. He was said, no way, can't be done. Check the fine print, sir, on liquidation. Under certain circumstances, at the discretion of ZKB Bank, you can be liquidated on your account in cash. Okay, these are not allocated accounts. Allocated has been thrown around as a word improperly. Allocated means it's mine. You're holding it. I'm paying you to hold it. You can't touch it. And when I want it, you send it. That's what allocated means. It's mine. I got serial numbers. You can't touch it. So the ZKB is now enduring some billion-dollar class action lawsuits that's not in the news. I got some clients saying, hey, Jim, I live in Germany, and I can't find anything on this. Okay, why don't you hire a financial detective in Zurich? Don't sit back in Frankfurt and expect it to become, newsworthy. This is deep inside the bowels of the Swiss banking system, which is in enormous trouble. They've got three huge problems. The flight out of private, what they used to call private secure accounts, numbered accounts without names, all the stuff where you could do what you wanted. It could be drug money, it could be tax evasion money, it could be all kinds of dirty money, it could be stolen money from heists of jewelry or whatever. Just put it in Switzerland with a numbered private account. Well, that's pretty much going away. They also had something that I haven't mentioned much in a while. The Swiss, I think this was like between 2004 and 2008, they were 2% below the Euro Central Bank in their interest rate, which meant they got a lot of mortgage business in Eastern Europe. I'm talking about Czechoslovakia, Poland, other countries, Hungary. The whole housing bubble in Eastern Europe was built on Swiss banks underwriting mortgages that went to the crapper. Not only did the mortgages go to crap, but the currencies behind them went to crap, so they had double crap. They had crap squared. All right, there's a third thing that the Swiss bought into a lot of the U.S. mortgage bonds, so they got the toxic bonds. They got three gigantic problems. They tried to resolve some of it by going after allocated accounts, is my theory. And now they're getting called on it. I am anxious to see the class action suits going on in Switzerland over improper usage of allocated accounts and the refusal to redeem them in metal. I'm anxious to see that public front page news. And the fact that it's not news doesn't mean it didn't happen. It's a testimony to the power of the Swiss bankers in controlling their press.
Right. Just goes back to what I always recommend and always say, basically, if you don't hold it in your own hand, you don't own it. And we're just seeing more and more examples of that every day. And really, if you don't hold your supposedly allocated metal in your own hand right now, it's getting close to the time where it's too late. So we definitely encourage any listeners to protect yourself with physical metals, gold and silver, in your own personal possession, meaning you're your own central bank. You hold the metals, whether it's where you store it, you hold it. It's not in a third party's possession. Well, Jim, before we let you go, if you could let the listeners know where they could find your information.
Sure. I'm on www.goldenjackass.com. It's exactly how it sounds, no spaces, underscores, or hyphen. goldenjackass.com. I have frequently, every 2 or 3 weeks, I put out a public article to inform the people, but also it's a shameless promotion to get new subscribers to my Hat Trick Letter. The Hat Trick Letter consists of 2 reports that come out each month. One is the Money War Report, and the other is the Gold and Currency Report. The Money War Report, I gave it that label because I got tired of hearing about the ongoing, endless, chronic financial global crisis, or global financial crisis. This is not a global financial crisis. It's a war over money. It's a war over wealth. The other report is the Golden Currency Report, where I get into a whole lot more ground level reporting stories, like China and their retail purchases, and things like Turkey acting as intermediary for some of the transactions from India, and what's happening to the Turkish banks with their depletion of gold and private involvement in all that. And there's one little bit point I think people need to know about, and that is the July California sales tax receipts. This year, they're 40% below July of last year. July of last year was not a one-off month. It was a regular old month in the summer. 40% sales tax decline in 1 year in California. Is that a recovery? I don't think so. No, we got a collapse coming, I think, of the U.S. economy. It's accelerating on the downslide. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see martial law imposed. I wouldn't at all be surprised to see the U.S. dollar rejected as a global currency for corruption and economic foundation basis that's collapsing. And when that all happens, you're going to see price inflation and shortages inside the United States economy. Now, you better get your gold and silver now, because pretty soon, I don't know, a few months, you might not be able to find any. Not only because it won't be legal to acquire in the United States, it's because you won't be able to find any. Prices going down, supplies vanishing. Figure that out. It's because we're going to get a big divergence, and it's already started, between the paper price, Doc, for gold and silver and the physical price. Just take a look at the Sprott premiums paid. That gives you an idea how hard it is to find.
Well, there you have it. The Golden Jackass says get your physical metals now. You might not be able to acquire them in a few months' time. Well, thanks, Jim, and we highly recommend our readers check out both Golden Jackass's public articles, which can be found on silverdoctors.com, as well as look into his private hat trick letter over at goldenjackass.com. Thanks, Jim, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.
My pleasure. It's great to be on. People need to really get alert to what's going on, because they're being deceived in a grand way.